What is your largest expense right now? Is it food? Clothes? Streaming services? What about your rent or mortgage payment? For most people, the place you live is also the place that puts the biggest strain on your pockets. When I was finishing up my basketball career and preparing to live in the real world for the first time, I heard about a little known way to buy a house for free and live in that house for free. And today, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I did it at just 23 years old. What's up guys, my name is Lili, and if you're new to the channel, this is where I document my real estate investing journey and bring you along with me. But before I scaled my real estate portfolio to be worth over $1.3 million, I was a Division I college athlete, soon to be college graduate, and I had a pit in my stomach over my imminent entrance into the real world to get a real job and pay real rent. But then, one of the best things ever happened to me, and it put me on the road to real estate-induced financial freedom. I tore my ACL. Okay, let me back up a little bit. I remember my very first game when I was 3 years old was in a room in my daycare center, and the flooring was carpet and the staff had put down duct tape to make it look like the lines of a basketball court. As I got older, I kept getting better.
And a lot of it has to do with the junior guard, Lili Thompson. She just took over the fourth quarter, ends up with 16 points, 9 of them in the final period of play. The defense, the block on the post player, Liz Brennan. And then here, Lili Thompson just taking the offense and putting it all in her control and saying, stop me. And nobody from Oregon could stop her.
I played Division I at Stanford and at Notre Dame. I was a National Player of the Week multiple times, broke UConn's winning streak my sophomore year, went to the Final Four multiple times, won a national championship, and tore my ACL. With my dreams of making it to the WNBA. And before you come at me in the comment section, I know that people can come back from ACL tears and be better than ever. My cousin Clay is about to come back this year and wreak some havoc on the league, but the WNBA doesn't exactly pay as much as the guys' side, and I tore my ACL at the exact worst time, during the last part of my last season. So you can see why I was pretty devastated. But then I got an offer from the Harlem Globetrotters. I could come rehab my knee with them, and while I was going through that process, be a media ambassador and one of their trick shot artists. Here's where I get to the free house part of the story. While with the Globetrotters, I was globetrotting. I was driving and flying from city to city. I even did a stretch where I hit 18 cities in just 30 days. And during all of that travel time, I got my hands on as many podcasts and audiobooks about financial freedom and real estate investing as I could. And that's where I found out about house hacking and a special twist to house hacking that would not only let me live for free, but also buy the house for free. If you aren't familiar with this term house hack, it's the idea of buying a property for yourself to live in and renting out the extra space to help cover, if not completely eliminate, your housing expense. And if you're thinking that buying a house is completely unattainable because the housing market is going up, you don't have great credit or 2 years of job history, stick with me because I was dealing with all of those things too. Most people think that in order to buy a house, you need to put 20% down. So if the house costs $200,000, you would have to have $40,000 for a down payment. And that's true if you're using a conventional loan. But if you plan to live in the home yourself, you qualify for something called an FHA loan. With an FHA loan, you only need to put 3.5% down. So instead of $40,000 down on a $200,000 purchase, you've just got to put $7,000 down. Well, Lili, $7,000 is a lot less than $40,000, but it's not free. Is this clickbait? There's a special program I'm going to tell you about that you can use at closing to eliminate that entire 3.5% down payment. But first, let's talk about how you actually start the house hacking process itself. You know that you can get a house for a low down payment if you plan to live in it yourself, but another great thing about the FHA loan is you can use it not just to buy a traditional single family home, but you can use it for any property that has 1, 2, 3, or 4 units. So you can get up to a fourplex and still just have to put down 3.5%. Traditionally, if someone was gonna buy a multifamily home as an investment property, they'd need 20, even 25% down. FHA loans also usually have more relaxed lending standards because they're made for someone who's buying their first home and not someone who's more established in their job and may have more income and savings available. Because I was just graduating from college and I'd only been with the Globetrotters for a few weeks, I was worried that when I went to get my FHA pre-approval, they might deny me right away because I didn't have 2 years of job history. But the lending standards were relaxed because I had just come out of school and there was really no way for me to have that 2 years of job history. So if you have any of those limiting beliefs that are telling you right now that you can't do this, let me help you get past them. Realize that while conventional loans usually require a credit score of 620, FHA loans require just 580. And if you're willing to put down 10% for your down payment, you can have a credit score of as low as 500. Second, getting pre-approved for an FHA loan is a very quick and painless process and will tell you exactly what purchase price the bank is willing to let you buy a house for. And if you're like I was, where you're just coming into the real world and you don't have a ton of job history or income, you can have someone trusted co-sign for you on the loan, which will help you qualify to buy a house that's worth a little bit more. In my case, my parents co-signed for me on the loan, so while they don't pay anything towards my monthly expenses, it did help me qualify for enough to buy this duplex. And finally, I know that some people are living in super expensive areas, and if you have $1 million property, 3.5% of a down payment is still a lot and might be out of reach. And what I would say to those people is just consider whether or not you're able to move a little bit further out of maybe the city center or the biggest city in your market, because where the housing prices are super high, this will be a little bit more difficult to pull off. But even in those areas, if you can find a property for the purchase price that you're pre-approved for, I'm still gonna show you how you can get the entire down payment wiped away for you at closing. Just hold on. So let's dive into the next step, and this is where the house hacking strategy really shines. Let's say you get pre-approved for a purchase up to $200,000 and you know that your down payment is gonna be 3.5% or $7,000. We're gonna come back to how to erase that down payment, but on that loan, your monthly payment would be around $1,100, even when you include the extra cost that comes with using an FHA loan called PMI. You're also gonna wanna set aside money each month for repairs and vacancy, because you are the owner of this property now, and anything that goes wrong is gonna be on you. So let's add an extra $100 to that every month that you're gonna set inside as just in case money. So at the end of the month, you're gonna owe $1,200 towards the expenses and upkeep of the property, not including your utilities just yet. But while you're living in one side of that duplex or multifamily property, you can rent out the other units. And if it is a single family home, you can still rent out the extra rooms, or if there's a basement or a mother-in-law suite in the back, you can rent out whatever extra space you have. Let's say it's a duplex and you rent out the other unit for $1,400 a month. After paying your monthly fees, you still have $200 a month left over to go towards your utilities, your grocery bill, your Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus package. Honestly, you can put it towards whatever you want. You're literally getting paid to live in a house that you own. And even if it doesn't turn out to be a perfect house hack, like in this example, where there's money left over after you take in the rental income, think about the question I asked you at the start of this video. What is your biggest expense? And if it's housing, how impactful would it be to cut that expense in half, to eliminate it completely and break even and live for free? For myself, my house hack didn't work out perfectly, but I pay only about 15% of what I would pay in rent to someone else to live here, plus I own the property. Plus, I didn't have to make a down payment. And that's what I want to tell you about next, is a special program that I used at closing called down payment assistance. So I looked it up, and there are down payment assistance programs at the state level in all 50 states. And there are federal programs that can be used by anyone purchasing a house in the United States. And they are meant for people who are buying their first property, which again, are people that are most likely to be using that FHA loan to house hack. So here's how my down payment assistance program worked. I looked online and found a local FHA lender to get pre-approved with, and I told them I'd like to use a first-time homebuyer down payment assistance program for the state of Oklahoma. He had a list of programs that worked well with FHA lenders, and the documents that I submitted to him for my pre-approval letter, he submitted to the down payment assistance program. So here's how the program worked. They would pay 4% towards my down payment and closing costs with these two stipulations. It made my interest rate 0.5% higher than it would have been if I wasn't using the down payment assistance program. And second, if I sell the property anytime in the first 5 years that I own it, then I have to pay the down payment assistance back. And these were two things that were very reasonable for me. For the 0.5 percentage point higher, that increased my monthly payment by a couple of bucks a month, but it wasn't impactful enough that I would have to pay too much out of pocket to live here every month. Remember, I pay about 15% of what the rent would normally be. All good for me. Second, I don't plan on selling this house ever, and so I don't have to worry about paying back the down payment because I'm not gonna sell it in the first 5 years. And for you, if you're thinking, well, I may not wanna live in the property for 5 years, the FHA program only requires you to live in the property for 1 year, and then you can always move out and rent out the space that you were living in and keep it as a rental property and have even more income coming in. In fact, this is one of the best ways for people to get started being full-time real estate investors and building up a rental portfolio. So here's how it all wrapped up, and I didn't have to come out of pocket anything at closing. First, my 3.5% down payment was completely covered by the down payment assistance program. Second, because they were willing to give me 4%, there was also an extra 0.5% that went towards my closing costs. And third, in my offer to the seller when I was going to purchase the property, I offered them about $5,000 more if they would pay the closing costs for me, which meant that yes, I was paying a little bit more and had a little bit higher of a monthly payment, but I was able to purchase this house and move in completely for free. This process of buying a duplex for free and saving 85% of my housing expense was the first, if not biggest, step on my road to financial freedom. From house hacking, I went on to wholesaling real estate, where I was able to close deals from $8,000 to $10,000 every month for about 10 months straight. I then used that capital to move into BRRRR investing, which is what I do now, buying distressed homes, renovating them, and keeping them as part of my rental portfolio. And with this strategy, I've been able to cash checks in the 30s, 60s, and even $70,000 range. If any of that sounds interesting to you, check out this video right here that goes more in depth on house hacking, this video right here, which will show you how to get started wholesaling, and this video right here, which will show you how I bought 6 properties this summer to BRRRR using other people's money. Don't forget to change the color of the like button before you go, and until next time, thanks for watching.